Hi, it's Kim and welcome to the channel. I have decided to leave this plant outside for the winter, and I'm going to take some new fresh cuttings so that I can have new plants to overwinter. Now I know this is a little bit early, but I decided to make sure that I had some successful cuttings and get into it right away. Because once those September days start, you're kind of up against a deadline, so I may as well get started. Now this Swedish ivy, the Plectranthus australis, is a many branching plant. It cascades and dangles really nicely. It sends out new branches all over the place. So I'm planning to root some in these little bottles I got at the at-home store. I'll just fill it up with regular tap water that I've left set out on the counter. So if there's chlorine in it, that'll dissipate. Then I've got another little bottle here and a mason jar that I'm going to use as a hanging planter just for my rooting purposes. I think this should work out pretty well, but I'll be ahead of the game because I think they'll probably have roots on them within the week, at least from my past experience. Now to get started here, I'm just going to start snipping. And of course, I don't have anybody to help me, so I just have a tripod. So I don't know how close I can get into everything. I'll maybe do that in the editing. But I am just going to give it a really, I guess, severe haircut, we'll say. Because I'm going to cut off a lot of those dangling branches, and I'll only be saving some of them. The rest will just go into the discard pile because I don't need it. Now you can see where the sun comes through and makes some of the leaves get a little yellowy looking where they've got just a little bit too much sun. But I'm just going to trim those. I can take some tips and just press down into soil in a few pots, just under moist soil, and get a lot of my root cuttings there. And I'm sure I won't need all of these, but the ones that are successful, I'll just take the best looking and strongest inside for the winter. Now this makes a really good hanging plant to go inside and out. So whatever you do, for inside or out, that's up to you. I don't prefer to have one that's been outside all year to bring it in because they're susceptible to mealybugs. Now, knock wood, I've not found mealybugs on mine before, but I'm not going to chance bringing them in. Now, I'm going to fill these bottles full of the water. I'm outside on the porch, so I can be messy if I want to, and fill them all up. And then the strands that I've cut off, what I'll do is remove the bottom leaves, which is the best thing to do. Best thing about this type of plant, it has so many little nodes along there. Roots will grow out of that. New plants would grow out of that. You can even plant this on the ground underneath bushes or trees outside, and it'll just creep across the ground. I guess that's where it gets its name, Creeping Charlie. But if I trim all those off like 6 or 8 inches down, then I can just insert them right down into that water bottle and get some good roots done. Now those little tiny tips, I'll press those down into some soil, and that way I can have some growing in soil. They may make it or may not, who knows, but we'll try that. Now you can see, look at all those little tiny leaves that are coming from each of the joints. That's what makes this one so bushy and so nice when you do grow it. So I really love this plant. I've had it for several years and have always liked the way it grows. It has a pretty color with the purple and red veining underneath, and the deep green leaves with the scalloped edges. It's plumpy and succulent-like, so that's why I like it so much. But I've got these pushed into this particular, it's a little plastic container there that cut flowers came into, so it'll be light to put on that hanging macrame. And this is just a mason jar. I think we had some cut flowers come in it too. Now I noticed my fingers had an orange stain on them. I don't know how well you can see that in this picture, but I've not had that before, so I thought I'd Google and see what information I could get about orange stain coming from a Swedish ivy. So I just put into Google, and I'm going to show you on this little thing that I can record the screen. I just wrote in the question, an orange stain on your fingers when you're trimming the Swedish ivy. And that's how I get my questions answered when I'm curious about anything. Your question might be a little awkward or off the wall, but Google knows what you want. So I just looked down, kind of scanned through, and look where it uses the word orange in its description, and I did find it. There was a site said stupid plant tricks. Plants are the strangest people, and I think it was a he had this little article, and it did say that fluid that's in the stems does make your fingers turn orange when it's exposed to the air, and he says its flowers do have a blue stain. I've had flowers before, but next time it flowers, I'm going to try to test that. But we've got all the carnage done, so I'll just keep an eye out for roots in the bottles, and we'll be ready for winter.